Okay, so right now what I'm going to show you is how to build tank tracks, rigged working tank tracks. Now, I've seen many tutorials on how to make them, which are very helpful, but there's nothing on proper rigging of them, because usually they just move them. But anyways, I'm going to show you the whole thing from start to finish. Okay, so first what we're going to do is make our little piece of a tank track. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to use the default cube for this. So we're going to scale it down on the z-axis, scale it down slightly on the x-axis, and a lot on the y-axis. Okay, so there it is. Next, what we're going to want to do is we're going to add a curve and a circle. Okay. So we're going to rotate that on the y-axis 90 degrees so that it's straight up. Tab to get into edit mode. And I'm just going to rotate on the z-axis 180 because the direction is that way. Okay, so press 3 to go into side view, 5 for orthographic view, and what I'm going to do is bring these out further. Actually, let's undo that. Grab on the y-axis out to here. Same thing with this. Out to here. Okay. That looks good. Okay, so now what we're going to do with this is selecting the little piece of tank track. When you make yours, you're probably going to take some time and to make an actual realistic looking one. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to keep it like that. So generate array, and notice it's going across the x-axis. We don't want that, so we set this one to 0, and we're going to do it on the y-axis so that it comes this way. So 1, and then if we change this, it'll change the spacing. So 1.1 looks right for this, for the purpose of this. And so we can crank the count up a bit. Okay, so next what we're going to do is add another modifier. This one is going to be the curve modifier. So let's hide that. So what we're going to do with the curve modifier is object the circle. And obviously it doesn't look correct. So we're going to hit on the axis, negative y-axis. Or if that's the best looking one, which it should be, yeah it is. Okay. So now it is there, and so we're going to go back into our array modifier and add it until it goes all the way around the circle. But there's obviously an issue with this right here. But that takes some fine-tuning, and you can also notice that since the pieces are so large, they get highly distorted around this. Anyways, how you can fix that is by messing with this a bit. For the purpose of this, we'll just go with that. Anyway, so you see if we grab it on the actual beginning point of it, it will move, right? Okay, so I've got that. And okay. So what we're going to do next is... Okay, so now we're going to take both of these, shift, select both, and then we're just going to move it over 7 top view to here to line up with that grid. Shift D, duplicate on the x-axis, and then we're going to move it over here, so there's 2, right? Okay, then Shift C to bring the cursor back to the center. Shift A, we're going to add a empty cube. Now what this is going to be is we're going to use this to control these. So we're going to scale it down a bit, and then up here, hit control, and then if you click on the name of something you can change it. So we're going to call this the hull, and I guess we can change these while we're at it. Track underscore L, L, and then this one's going to be the right track. Underscore R. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is make these all children of the empty circle. So shift, select these two, and then at last select that, hit control P, and then set parent to object keep transform. So now when we move this, those two will move. Okay, so actual tank track is going to have, what are they called? Bogies. That's what they're called. This wheels of a tank, you could call them. And so those are quite simple to actually make. So I'm just going to pause this, make some, and then get back to you. Okay, so we're back. I made more than just the bogies or wheels. I also changed the curve of the circular paths that these follow. And so now with only 20 they line up pretty well. I'm also going to change this one because there's an extra. Anyway, so now we have our wheels of the tank. So what we need to do now is, what we want to do anyways, is make these turn, right? So how we're going to do this is a little bit more technical, but here it is. So what we're going to do is we want it to turn on its x-axis, right? So what we're going to do is lock the rotation of the y and z axis so that it can only turn on that. And then what we're going to do right here is right click on the x-axis and then add a single driver. And then what you're going to want to do is come down here, click this to drag up your screen and split it, and then go to a graph editor. And so with this, why isn't it showing up? Whoops. Oh, right, that's what I forgot. The reason it isn't showing up is you come down here from F curve editor and change it to drivers. So now with this cylinder selected, click on X ruler rotation, or whatever it's actually called, and then we want to close all these panels except for the drivers panel. Now what we're going to do here is make it so that when this box is moved, oh, that's one more thing I forgot, sorry. You're going to want to parent child, make these all children of the box also. So control P, keep transform. Okay, so back into what we're doing. We're going to want to, so this is what controls its quote driver, and well, that's a really crappy way to explain it. Basically, we're going to make it so that when that moves, this on the y-axis, this will rotate. So how we're going to do that is under object/bone, we're going to select the hull which is, you're going to scroll down a bit for it. And then under type, we're going to put Y location, because that's which way this is going to move. It's going to move along the y-axis, and this will be rotating only on the x-axis. So that's it. But under here, under expression, this is an equation, like algebra style equation. So what we're going to do is do var, which is the name of this variable. Press enter. Now if we select the box, if we move it, you'll notice the wheel will turn. But it is not turning in the right direction. So what we're going to want to do, since this is not that one, this one, sorry, under expression, this is an equation. So what we're going to do is times -1. And that will make it rotate the other direction. So now if we turn it, you'll notice this, oh, well, if we move it, it's going to be turning. Now the wheel is moving, right? Okay. And if you have smaller wheels, you're going to want to multiply this by a higher number, such as 5. You'll notice if now, you can't see it very well, now it turns quicker. So, but since these are so large, 1 is fine. Okay, so with that done, we're going to do the same thing to the other one. So lock rotations, add single driver, select it. Object is going to be the hull. Type. Oh, this is a much simpler way to do this, but I was not really thinking. So expression var times -1. So I'll explain it in a second. So it now moves forwards. You can't see it as well. Forwards and backwards, right? Okay. Also, what you could have done, which would be much simpler, is with this one selected, hit copy driver, and then over here you'd have a paste driver option. But, oh well, manual works just fine. Okay, so next what we're going to want to do is have the rest of these wheels also turn. So we're going to hit with this one. We don't really need that much right now. This one. And then shift, select this. Hit Control Shift C to bring up the constraints, or you can come over here to this tab. But Control Shift C. And what we're going to do is copy rotation. So now, when we do this, it will also turn. This wheel will also turn in the same as this one. So what we're going to do is bring this, we're going to do that for all of them, but what you're going to want to do is this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one, because later we're going to edit this a little more. And so if we edit this more, it's going to carry over to these if we do copy rotation on only this one. Anyway, so this one, Control Shift C, copy rotation, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Copy rotation. Okay, so now when we turn the block, when we move it, it's going to rotate all of them. Okay, next part is the driver for these tracks. So if you notice, when we move this, it moves this track, right? Well, it's moving, but if we were to rotate, it's not really showing me what I want. Basically, we're actually moving something, not rotating it. If we rotated it, it would get all messed up, right? So we're going to make instead of a rotation, we're going to make a location because we're moving this and it is being moved along the y-axis to turn correctly. So we're going to add a driver, wrong driver, single driver. And now back in our graph editor panel, select it. Now it's going to be basically the same. We're going to do y location of the object, the hull, which is the box, the empty box. And if we now move this, one second, alright, expression is going to be the variable to begin with. Now if we move this, it's moving in the wrong direction, so just as before, add times -1, and now it should move properly with it. Now your amount that you multiply it by is, depending on the size, will be different for the track and the wheels to line up in their speed. But since these things are so large, 1 works for both of them. So now we're going to take this one, copy the driver, go to this one, lock X and X and Z rotation, and then add the driver. Excuse me, I did that wrong. Paste driver, sorry. Seems to not be working. Oh well, we'll just delete the driver and then we'll do it manually. So add single driver, y location of the object, which is going to be the hull of tank or treaded vehicle that you so desire to build. Y location expression is going to be variable times -1. So these should work correctly now. Okay, so this is the part where the other tutorials, well, the tutorial that actually showed how to rig it, it didn't tell you how to do this. Like, a tank's not only going to go forwards and backwards, but it's also going to turn, right? And, well, we don't have a turn animation. I mean, it's not rigged to turn. So, first we're going to deal with the wheels turning. So to do this, we're going to come back, selecting our front wheel. Under the driver menu, we're going to add another variable. Now this variable is called 001. We're going to come up here and bring it to transform channel like the other one. But this time, it's going to be, instead of a location, we're going to make the tank turn, and it's going to turn on the z-axis. So we're going to go z rotation of the hull, which is the empty box, space world space is fine. Now, since these are both here, we have to incorporate them both into the expression. So what we're going to do is variable times -1 plus variable underscore 001, which is the one we added. You can replace the name, and instead of variable underscore 001, you'd type whatever you'd name your variables. But for the sake of this, we'll keep those. And it's going to be times, we're going to do -1, which should line up correctly. So now we rotate this. I have forgotten to do something. I forgot to press enter. Okay, so variable time plus variable underscore 001 times -1, enter. It's telling me that is wrong. Just a moment. Invalid expression. One moment. Oh, right. I am really stupid. I selected that. That should not have been selected. The wheel is what we're working on. Sorry. Yes. So, because I accidentally selected this and wasn't paying attention, I put another variable in the equation, which under its menu, the variable doesn't exist yet, which it will to make the tracks line up. But right now we've got the wheel, so now if we rotate it, you'll notice you can't see it from this far. If we rotate on the z-axis, yeah, you still can't see it good enough. I'm going to multiply it by a higher, what the rotation is. We're going to multiply it by 3 so you can see it rotate better. So, rotate on the z-axis. You can see that they rotate backwards now, and forwards. Right, as if a tank were turning. Okay, so that worked pretty well. But I'm going to put it at 2. Instead of 3. So, rotate Z. Seems to be working pretty well. Okay, so, and remember the reason before is because we copied all the rotations. So we only had to make it on the driver, and then it would carry over to the rest of the wheels. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing over here. Add a variable, or you can copy it if you so wish to do. Rotation, no, not rotation, transform channel. Scroll down to the hull. Type X location. No, excuse me, I'm really not thinking. Z rotation. And then up in our equation, this will be variable times -1 plus variable underscore 001 times -2. Now, now notice it is, if an actual tank were rotating, this this one would be going backwards while this would be going forwards, because that's how tanks rotate. So instead of -2 on this side, we're going to put regular +2, which should solve that. Yes, so now they're rotating as if a tank would. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with the tracks. Sorry about that. Add variable, transform channel, object is going to be the hull, type Z rotation, and then add it into our equation, or expression rather, so variable underscore 00, variable times -1 plus variable underscore 001 times negative, we'll go with 2 for this also. So rotate on the z-axis. Now the track turns also. So what we're going to do over here is the same thing, only with a positive multiplied value for it. So add the variable, single property, change that to rotation. No, change it to transform channel. Sorry. Hull selected. We'll change this to the Z rotation, and then what we do next is add it into the expression, which will be, I'm going to add variable underscore 001 times 2 instead of -2 like this one. So now when we rotate this, it will move opposite as if it were an actual tank rotating like this. And now it also drives backwards and forward. And that is it. This is how tank treads work. Now what you're obviously going to want to do is make much more in-depth tracks and bogies for the tracks to roll on. And you're also going to want to make them line up so that there's no insane spacing between them. Anyways, that was the tutorial. Hope it helped, and that is it.